I am Adam, Prince of Eternia and defender of the secrets of Castle Grayskull. This is Cringer, my fearless friend.
We're here to meet our dad.
I'll take you to him. Come with me.
Wait, that's Dad's watch!
Used to be one of the rotten ones, and I liked you for that.
Images capture, hold steady what might run. But sounds are ephemeral. Cartoons, a confrontation between the having and an attempt to hold. In 1978, Lanford Wilson wrote The 5th of July. I have some problems with Wilson's dramaturgy, but I love his titles. Burn This, The Hot L Baltimore, The 5th of July. So specific. Titles become times, and times create titles. The 5th of July reminds me of another time for poetry, September 1. This day, immortalized by poet W.H. Auden, the 1st of September, 1939.
Uncertain and afraid, as the clever hopes expire of a low, dishonest decade.
Saturday morning. A state of suspended animation. Ephemera, chimera, camera, Candace Cameron.
Whatever happened to predictability? The milkman, the paperboy, the evening TV.
So I prayed that sinner's prayer when I was 12 years old.
Just what I want, so I give my dad a smile. I asked Daddy, please, can we get some of these? He said, you're gonna get cavities.
Obviously, Full House is not a Saturday morning cartoon. But ultimately, Saturday mornings are a state of mind. Saturn, the god of turning on the TV and sitting on your parents' itchy rug. Saturday, the day before Utsi Sunday. I'm trying to draw a weird timeline. A timeline that isn't so much a line as it is a cat's cradle. Jacob's ladder, the hardest one. These little loops on my thumbs stretch out and expand, forming a network. A structure of feeling. Association. Memories. Ghosts and synthesizers. That said, it should be noted that, in the early 90s, Full House was part of a programming block on ABC. TGIF. Thank God it's Friday. Once a year, they would air a program on TGIF where characters from TGIF would promote new Saturday morning cartoons.
The hottest cartoons are coming this Saturday on
ABC.
Family Matters promoted a new cartoon starring new kids on the block.
I can't decide whether the new kids are cute in real life or as a cartoon.
Liveness and animation, all mixed up. A maelstrom of music and people and toys and images and people as images. Images pretending to be people. Sounds pretending to be people.
Megatron must be stopped, no matter the cost.
Treg Brown was a sound editor for Warner Brothers from 1933 to 1966. He also created sound effects. Sound designer Gary Rydstrom claims Brown as one of his idols. Rydstrom quotes Brown as saying, "Never use an appropriate sound."
Come, Rudolph. There is a rabbit loose in the castle, Rudolph. Return him to me, and I shall reward you with a spider goulash.
A roadrunner does not say beep beep. A cage rattle is not a refrigerator. But of course coyotes falling off a cliff sound like World War II jets. Of course roadrunners say beep beep. Of course Donnie Wahlberg has two selves, one animated and one less animated.
Stop! What would you do without your poo?
Hello everyone, welcome to Noisy Ghost. I'm Eleanor Russell, and I am here with our usual co-hosts, Andre Kello.
Hey.
And Eric Wenzel.
Hey.
And our new special ghost, Alex Phillips, a playwright.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
And we are here to discuss Saturday morning cartoons. Now, we actually all just got done watching a bunch of Saturday morning cartoons together, including the majority, I think, of the Transformers movie.
About half.
About half of it. And we watched...
I don't think we really got it, though.
You don't think we really experienced it fully enough? Well, all right. Well, I felt I did.
Yeah, I felt like I got it.
No, we got it, but, you know.
I was staring at that TV forever. It felt like I was a child again.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you stare at it for long enough, eventually you just start to accept whatever it presents to you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, but that's a thing about children's programming that I think isn't true for other kinds of programming. Like, I'll be watching a shitty, like for Faking It, for example. When we were watching that, I was just like, I don't accept any of this. None of this is going through my brain and passing my bullshit detectors.
It's too controversial.
What? Yeah, it's way too controversial.
Controversial.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of other stuff that you just stare through, like all the shows I love to watch on Ion Television. That's partially why.
Wait, but are those like the kid shows or not kid shows?
No, I was offering that as a counter to the kid.
Okay, but you need to be more specific.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just think of it all as one block of things. The shows on Ion Television. Like Canadian SWAT Team and Mathematician Detective and
Sherlock?
No, it's literally it's called Numbers, but the E's are
Oh,
threes.
yeah.
And he's like, well, I have to write an equation to solve this crime. But it's all, to me, it's like the grown-up version of cartoons, so you're just kind of like, oh yeah.
Oh yeah, well, the grown-up version. What is the grown-up version of cartoons? I was gonna say Cops because I can accept that I watch.
What about Law and Order? The Law and Order franchises,
That's
NCIS is definitely.
I think you guys are you're coming at this the wrong way.
Okay.
We're not even talking about cartoons even.
Well, I believe that Saturday morning cartoons were the beginning of making television expressly for a child audience. Like, rather than try to create something that would appeal to kids, like as an addition to, just like, oh, we'll try to make a good TV show and we hope kids will like it, right?
No, they made it. You're saying they made it for kids.
Well, yeah, but specifically to the exact social and economic reality of children in America in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s.
Did they have? Well, yeah, I guess so.
But but they're diverse. I mean, that's not a monolith.
Well, yeah, and that's why it changed a lot over time. Saturday morning cartoons in the 70s look very different from Saturday morning cartoons in the early 90s.
That's true.
Also, that explains why those cartoons are awful, because kids are dumb.
That is 100%. I mean, kids are dumb, but not as dumb as people seem to think that they are, I think, in general. I mean, I think
not as dumb as the writing on this.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, yeah, because weren't a lot of these, when you were a kid, you were like, this is awful.
Yeah, I would watch it like grudgingly, like I gotta do it. I mean, like I loved it, but at the same time, it was just like I gotta sit through this terrible one to get to the one that I want.
I never felt that way. I feel like I was always watching shows, and my favorite shows were actually the ones that everyone hated because they were really like safe and there weren't any adventures on it. Like I didn't like shows where people were rude to adults or like disrespectful. Like I was like, all I wanted was like boring shows where everyone was very safe and cozy and warm, and like all my stories were like that too. But like I would write short stories when I was a kid, and they're all like, and then she got up from a nap and then like ate some porridge. Like that was like my dream. If they had made a show for me like that was like that.
So then why do you hate Bobby's World then?
I don't hate Bobby's World. I used to watch it. I don't actually remember that much about it.
Yeah, I don't really.
Oh, it's the best show ever.
Wait, now it's all coming
wow,
back.
Wow, that was really
to me
good.
now.
Thank you. Well, how did you feel about Saved by the Bell?
That show was awesome, and Full House was great because
but Zach Morris he's completely disrespectful to his elders.
He was not what I like. What I like
in the first 2 acts, he is.
Yeah,
and then he learns respect.
Well, that's what I like. Is it appeals? I feel like a lot of kids, particularly like smarty little girls, is that they like the Brady. Like I love the Brady Bunch. I love things that appeal to my like sense of justice and morality. I like that a lot.
Why?
I think it's because I felt very anxious as a kid all the time and very uncertain, and I still feel this way, but I feel like my intellect is more and my like
the world is an ugly place and you're suffering all the time, and
so I'm like able to respond to it more abstractly and intellectually as opposed to just viscerally and emotionally like I was interested in when I was a kid.
But why did you still only like the safe ones? Like, I mean, there's justice and morality in like Batman or Superman or something, and there's a lot of action.
But there's a lot of like plot and stress, and I hate plot. I hate plot so much.
So how are you handling this? We didn't see the end of Transformers. It's a cliffhanger now. Like,
well, that was just sort of beautiful. I think I liked the.
It was so abstract. All of the action. It's just a bunch big clouds of explosions.
Star Trek was not
and
stressful
lasers.
to me for this reason. As I was just like everyone. It's just so.
It was so incomprehensible to you that you weren't invested at all. It was just washing over you like a wave.
I loved that. Yeah.
I think that was the Star Trek cartoon of the 70s. I think right.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and as we heard the clips from.
Yeah, which was beautiful.
The music, the
disco jingling.
Well,
it sounded like that song was made out of solid gold.
The theme starts out like sort of spooky, like, ooh, what's going to happen? And then it ends with like, da, 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 like it's more jangly. I don't know. Maybe I wanted to go into Denver the Last Dinosaur because that's the only thing that like is in my brain right now.
I think that the orchestration is supposed to give you this feeling of like the peace and emptiness of space, and then the Enterprise enters, and the Enterprise is full of action and beauty.
And Casey and the Sunshine Band. I'm sorry.
No, I know, but I like Popples and Pound Puppies. And I also was a kid. When I was a kid, I was in a lot of special ed classes as a kid. And so in special ed classes, you watch a lot of shows. Even if you're like 9, you watch a lot of shows that are like for like 3 and 4-year-olds. It's like a thing. And so I think I continued to watch like Popples when I was like 11. Like
it's
embarrassing.
That you've told about being in special ed makes me think that there's going to be like an American Horror Story that takes place in a special ed classroom.
It's pretty.
Well, yeah, because you could have all these violent children offenders.
Well, and it's like weird because I was in regular kid classes too, and then I would just go to like my this is the special handwriting class for 9-year-olds. Like that was like my experience. So I had the best of both worlds. Sorry, I'm just going to sing a lot today.
Oh, yeah. I wanted to go back to quickly the Star Trek thing, though. So, because I remember it being on Nickelodeon or something in the 80s at like a really random time, like, because it was being rebroadcast. And it was like weekdays, but during the day when like kids weren't home yet from school. So I saw it when I was half day in kindergarten or something.
It's the kind of stuff that you would see if you were sick.
Yeah. And I just remember being like, all right, I'll give it a try. And then just being like, oh, we can make this a cartoon, but you can't make Star Trek interesting to me. Like, nice try. Nice try, TV.
Eventually you were captured by Star Trek.
Oh, for sure. But as a 6-year-old or whatever age you are in kindergarten, I was still like, I think I was also like, oh, I'm being smart watching the Star Trek cartoon.
You have to be old enough
that's
to
a grown-up cartoon
to understand how stressful a staff meeting can be.
Yeah.
There's a part of me that thinks, and I'm going to get a lot of heat for this because I know a lot of people that are very invested in animation, and I think animation is extraordinary. But when I was younger, I thought it was weird that there were animated, and I still sort of do, that there are animated shows for adults. Like, it seems so like why?
Like adult animation, like hentai?
Well, Not even that, like when I was a kid, I was like, South Park, I was like, I really wanted to watch South Park, but I wasn't allowed to. And I was like, but why? It's animated and like not even like particularly well. Like I didn't understand. It made no sense to me. And then I remember watching an episode and my mom was on the couch and I was and there was like one where Cartman is talking about pubes and he's like, I want to get pubes. I really need pubes or something. And my mom was like, what is this? No, you were not going to be watching this. And I was like, okay, so.
She sounds like Cartman's mom. Oh, what is this cartoon you're watching, honey?
I was like,
our pubes.
But not only is this, I was like, so when I was a kid, I thought, oh, not only is this a cartoon for adults, it's worse than the kid cartoons. Like, what is this pubes? This isn't funny. Like, now I think.
Oh, I thought you were like, what is this pubes thing?
What is this concept you have of human love?
Yeah. Wait, but I have a question about Star Trek the animated series because it sounded like when I was listening to the theme that it was the same, that it was Patrick Stewart, but that's not true.
No,
it's not. It just sounded like him.
You're very bad at this.
I'm terrible at everything.
You're very bad at Star Trek.
I'm really bad at Star Trek. I'm sorry, you guys.
You mean William Shatner?
Yeah, sorry, Patrick Stewart, because he's totally listening to this.
Yeah. Oh, I say. It wasn't. He might have. It's also like one of those things, where they're doing the tie-in, so they would like maybe hire the actor to voice the opening scene, and then they're like, we'll have someone that sounds like him.
Well, this is one of the weird things about animated TV shows, because they were always trying to cut costs. Right, but they were still they wanted to grab your attention. So, for example, like in the Garfield cartoon, you have Lorenzo Music doing the voice of Garfield, and he sounds like he's doing an impression of Bill Murray, right? And the connection got to be so strong that later on, when they did the Garfield movie, they had Bill Murray go in and do the voice.
Oh, I didn't know that about Bill Murray. That's how they got him. Was because of people were like, oh,
they were like, we gotta get
people
Bill
just
Murray.
Assumed that Bill Murray had done the voice because the guy was doing a voice that sounded so much like Bill Murray, and a lot of voice acting in animation for all the way back to Disney and Looney Tunes was the idea that we can have it sound as close to the thing that we're trying to make it sound like as we want, as long as we're able to get a guy who can do it. And so all you have to have is somebody who can do a celebrity impersonation. Right, and also you save a lot of money by just having one person do a bunch of different voices.
Yeah,
because you only give them one paycheck. So you end up with this thing where you're listening to these.
Also, it's really hard for someone to find a job if this is the only way they talk.
Sure, right. Yeah, I wonder how many of those people actually were cartoon cats, and then they bring them in to be the voice of the cartoon dog and the voice of the cartoon.
Well, it's funny you brought that up
giraffe.
Because I heard a story about that.
Oh.
Well, it's a shame Eric's not here to tell.
This guy's walking down the street, and he sees a sign in the window that says "Talking Cat for Sale." And he walks in, and there's no one in the store. There's just this orange cat sitting on the counter, and he's like, "Oh, are you the talking cat?" And he's like, "Why, yes, I am." And he's like, "Really?" And he's like, "Of course." And he's like, "Well, how'd you get to be here?" And the talking cat says, "Oh, well, I was created in a lab, and it was like a science experiment, and I was going to be a spy in the Cold War, because they're like, who would suspect a cat? And I'd just hang out and I'd like record information, then I'd call up the CIA and like tell them what I heard, and so I did that for a while, but then peace broke out, and so and they shut the lab down, and so I had to do a bunch of different jobs, and so I ended up getting voice work as a cartoon cat voice because I sounded more like a cartoon, like a cat, because it was a real cat talking, and but now I kind of want to settle down, and I want to, that's why I'm in this pet shop, because I just want to retire, get out of the limelight, and all that. And the guy goes, "Well, how much are you?" And he's like, "Well, let me check. Let me go ask the owner." And then he comes back and he's like, you can have the cat for 50 cents. And he's like, "Really, just 50 cents? This is amazing." And he's like, "Yeah, well, I guess." But, well, I totally forgot where I was in the story.
Oh my God, Eric, are you fucking kidding me?
No,
my God.
No,
The punchline is that Erik is playing a trick on us.
The punchline, no.
The punchline is he is the talking cat.
The punchline.
Erik has been a talking cat this whole time.
No, the punchline. He's like, well, is he not really a talking cat? Why is it so cheap? And the owner's just like, yeah, he's a real talking cat, but he never shuts up.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
I'm gonna sell you for 50 cents.
That was like a cartoon story.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't really paying attention the
In
whole
that it was
time.
shittily told?
Yeah, it was shittily told.
It had a talking cat.
That reminds me of like the kind of jokes that like my Unitarian minister used to tell, like stuff like that, and then later on we're supposed to learn something. Like I don't know.
Whenever you say Unitarian, I just imagine like space Christians.
Unicron?
Yeah.
Galvatron, the robot.
Wait, actually, let's talk about Unicron and his magical sphincter that sucks up all the...
God, I'm glad you said
all
that.
the Autobots and Decepticons and everything that he possibly can.
It's like a reverse butthole.
It was weird. Like at one point, I felt like it like opened up to reveal like more butthole underneath. Like it was just like it was like his skin peeling back, and there was just
that's right.
like butthole meat. I don't
or
know.
he's just a series of buttholes like up until the core, and then there's just like a rock. I don't know what would be after at the end of the series of buttholes if you were on that journey.
Well, there's a tortoise, and then more buttholes.
A tortoise.
It's buttholes all the way down.
Everything's coming up buttholes.
So wait, his name's Unicorn?
Unicron.
Oh, so they literally took the word unicorn and
made it less girly.
They just switched the O and the R, right?
He doesn't look much like a unicorn. He looks like a...
But he does look like a singular crown, like anyway, when the pointy stuff comes out, it looks kind of like a crown.
I think it's because he's got... he doesn't digest his corn fully.
Yeah.
Do you think they designed Unicron in the movie and is he on the show? I don't know if Unicron is on the show. No, he's not. He's just in the movie. Okay. If they designed him to look like Orson Welles, like if that was like Orson Welles in his later years.
Oh yeah, I think they're
spherical and mostly butthole.
Yeah,
I think they're like, this guy's a total butthole.
I'm sure he was a butthole to work with at the end.
And he eats a lot. I mean, what do we know about Unicron is that he eats a lot.
Yeah, and reverse butthole.
Yeah, I have to say, his voice was pretty amazing, though.
Oh my god, it was great.
You're like, oh my, it had force.
He could have been phoning it in, and I wouldn't have known. I'd been like, oh, the force of your voice is so good.
As much as they cut costs on the voices for the cartoons, the voice is always the most nuanced and best developed aspect of the cartoon.
Definitely, it's like the most lively. It's the thing that marks them as actually like characters worth caring about, because the rest of it is just like, when they're animating, they'll like move one they can only move one thing at a time, so like they'll turn their head but then the rest of their body doesn't move, and like so like like Andre described it during the thing, is like they're either just running or talking, like that's the only thing they do.
And as much as the plot is driven by the dialogue, that you never see them talk very much. Like they don't talk they don't have long conversation scenes. They'll say, oh, we have to go save the princess. The swamp people are gonna try and turn her into a stew or whatever. And they don't have a long conversation scene like in Star Trek. Star Trek would use dialogue to save money.
Star Trek is just a play. It's just a filmed play.
It's funny you talk about plot and dialogue, just because like really all that I remember about most of these cartoons is the running. Like for Scooby-Doo, it's just running and that digga-digga-digga noise.
Scooby-Doo, I think, is the most egregious of the like in terms of like formula usage. Like it is.
And by egregious, you mean awesome?
I hate Scooby-Doo. I hate it. And kids love it, I think, because it's the same every time. It like
Eleanor.
It's comforting. I fucking hate it. I hate Scooby-Doo. I have always hated it.
That was my Shaggy.
And I always wanted to like Daphne, because I was a terrible feminist as a child, and I always liked the pretty one. Like I was like, even though I was like, oh, you should like Velma. Like no, I like the beautiful one. But
Daphne didn't have any characteristics.
I know, but she was pretty, and I wanted to be pretty, and I still.
I hate Scooby-Doo up until the point when they mention Scooby snacks, and then I'm sold. I don't know. I just find
what are they? What's in those things?
It's something that both a Shaggy and a Scooby can eat.
Oh man!
Which means I would like it probably.
Yeah.
Dog food that's palatable to humans.
Yeah.
I think it reminds me of.
Have you ever had
the Turkish delight from
Lion,
the Witch, and the Wardrobe, because
just how Fred gets them to Spy on the beavers.
Okay, anyway, Andre was talking about Turkish Delight.
I'm sorry.
I was going to just say that cat food tastes really good, actually. Like the dry mix.
Are you the talking cat?
I think he's Nomi Malone from Showgirls.
Does she eat cat food?
She ate dog food, and they have some like sexy conversation about how much they both liked eating dog food when they were children.
Whoa.
Wait. Oh my God. Okay, we're gonna do an episode about Showgirls. That's gonna happen.
Okay, so a little bit of history, if you don't mind, about how Saturday morning cartoons got to be the way that they were, right? Like, so Saturday morning, obviously, a lot of people weren't going to be watching TV. So they figure, well, we can create these programs expressly as a way to sell things to children, right? This was in the 60s when, children had a greater impact on commercialism, right? They were beginning to spend more money on toys because there was more money to go around. The middle class was beginning to emerge, And at the same time, in the late 60s, there was a thawing of relations with China. And plastic was developing as a new, cheap way of creating toys, right? But how do you get these kids to buy the cheap plastic toys you make in China? You have to advertise.
Well, were we manufacturing in China before Nixon went there, or was that only after?
The trade relationship with China greatly expanded in the 70s as a result of a change in
right?
American diplomatic relations.
I think it's really funny the way that businesses or like these advertisers think of children, where it's like they have to bombard them with these loud noises and like bright pictures, just like because kids they don't fucking pay attention, they don't listen to you should see my kid, he doesn't listen to me. No, but like it's weird because it's like they make the cartoon show like that, just like really loud and really like bright, and then they make the ads like that too, and then it just all becomes one big just like calamity that just like induces like a trance though.
It was overstimulating.
It was the FCC, the regulations that changed in the 80s that allowed you to advertise toys that were licensed from the show. And so that was how in the 80s you had shows like G.I. Joe and Transformers and
Popples
and a number of other shows that were invented with the idea that we'll create a narrative that the children who are watching will get invested in and want to buy the toys. And there was a guy who came up with the idea of what it is for something to be toyetic. And this was a term that he came up with when he was talking with... This is in, I guess, 1978, I think. He was talking with Steven Spielberg about creating a line of toys for Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And, the guy says to Spielberg, I can't make toys from Close Encounters of the Third Kind. This movie has nothing to do with the qualities that would create a successful line of toys. And then he goes on to describe to Steven Spielberg what toyetic is.
Wait, so the Simon, that like boo 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 toy, is that from Close Encounters of the Third Kind?
I think that's older than that.
Is it?
Yeah, it is older than that.
All right.
They did have action figures because I've seen them.
Yeah, but you're not going to have little 4-year-olds like, I want to be Francois Truffaut,
Well, the thing...
Is Francois...
But the reason...
He's in the movie, yeah.
The reason you wouldn't have that is not because it's like, as a figure, he's necessarily above kids' heads, although he probably is, maybe. But...
He's taller than they are.
I think what happens...
Barely.
is... It's not like you were saying you want to create a narrative in order to sell toys. It's not the narrative in and of itself that sells toys. It's the moments, these like sensation scenes, like to borrow like a 19th century term, that become sort of inscribed in the kid's memory, and that necessarily involves character. All right, so it's really more selling, I think, character that is necessarily developed through a narrative. But it's the character that kids are responding to.
A particular kind of character. A character who has accessories that you can buy, who has a vehicle, a character who has a variety of different iconic
Has a habitus.
costumes, a character who has strong relationships with a villain and has, like there's maybe he has a pet. Maybe somebody physically strong, somebody very active, somebody sort of like the guy that Hamlet is trying to be in Hamlet. He's going out and solving problems and giving children access to a fantasy where they are active participants in the world instead of constantly these passive victims of the circumstances in which they find themselves.
Okay.
But it's also, I think it's like also just a name, just like motorcycle mice from Mars. Is that even what they're
Biker
called?
mice.
Biker mice. Okay.
Sure, it's Samurai Pizza Cats or or as we heard in the opening sequence, the
Street Sharks.
Street Sharks.
Oh my fucking God, that is extraordinary.
What are these now?
Okay, so Street Sharks, from what I understand, were ordinary street people.
They were ordinary sharks living on the streets.
Yeah.
No, they were people who were transformed into sharks.
Homeless people.
No, but they love extreme sports. That's key.
Right.
Okay, Alex, you should explain
the figures they were like a glove.
That's why they were on the street.
Yeah, they were on the street.
It wasn't because they were
streets.
homeless. It was because they're into like BMX biking and rollerblading.
Oh, I was thinking they were like urchins. I don't know.
Right.
Do you think that's all based on the
Street
Land
Sharks
Shark
It's
skit?
a sequel to Newsies.
Oh yeah.
No, it has nothing to do with Land Shark.
Like maybe someone saw that and they're like, I could make a toy out of that if it was.
But
just
Land
more...
Shark is just not. It's not specific enough. Street Shark.
Where on land?
Because my goodness,
I saw
Prairie Shark. That's boring.
I saw an episode where they like get dropped in this water world, and then they're like, "Oh God, I can't swim, dude." It was hilarious.
That's pretty awesome.
The sharks can't swim.
Yeah, the sharks can't swim.
Was it like one of those like bonehead moments like in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles where they're like, oh wait, no, we're amazing, we can do that. Like I feel like
they got saved by like some Atlantis princess or something. So no, it wasn't because they were awesome.
All the plots were so asinine that it was as though when
all
they're
the plots on all the cartoons.
When they were in the process of creating the plot, there is no point where they think to themselves, or there's an editor, like there's no story editor who's saying to them, that's not likely. That doesn't make sense.
Why would a robot turn into a choo-choo train?
Well,
because that's not the point. The point are these moments that are creating a character that's exciting and out of this world, that is both relatable but also.
But when you create a character that's like exciting and out of this world, then there's no like logic to it,
Exactly.
But you also have to have the loser characters that when you go to the store, there's a ton of those, and not the one you were looking for.
I wonder how much of the desire to create these fantastic things that you could possess, as Eric was saying, comes out of just the mind-blistering ennui of being a child.
Absolutely. I think this is what I think is sort of depressing about this, what Alex was saying about this like overstimulating ad experience that children have, is that it's not that kids are too dumb and they only respond to flashing lights and loud noises. It's that, and I think this is a keen awareness that these advertisers have, is that kids are really lonely and they're really like actually alone in the world. Like,
but it's more so now and in the second half of the 20th century because of suburbia.
Okay, yes, that's true. I think suburbia plays a part in that, but I also think it's just intrinsic. I think it's like an ontological like thing for kids are just necessarily alone because they're forming, they're in formation, they're transforming, they're the kids are the transformers.
Oh man, that was a stupid thing to turn into, a grown-up.
Yeah, I agree.
They don't have control over it the same way that the Transformers, they don't get to choose whether or not they turn into an airplane. That's just
they're
how
born this way.
Yeah.
Sorry,
yeah, we've got to do that more in this show. No, but wait, what?
Eric was saying earlier, what is their natural state? If they transform into these things when they came to Earth in order to hide because they're robots in disguise, then what's their natural state? But they don't have a natural state.
No, yeah.
Exactly.
No, they were like robots on like a metal planet. And they were made out of metal.
But they looked exactly like the Transformers that we see on Earth, and those Transformers look like that because they are covered with the little parts that they eventually turn into the hubcaps and the wings and the
giant gun that's held by another Transformer.
Wait, so Transformers are the cyborgs of stolen parts because they're made out of the emblems of humanity, of construction, of industry, of busyness.
And they make no goddamn sense, though, because I guess no, that makes perfect sense. I guess that's the same analogy for people and God, but I find it hard to believe that robots evolved. Like, somebody had to build those robots, and I know I'm sounding like Candace Cameron here, but like... robots don't just appear.
They are like everything else in the Saturday morning cartoon where they are inspired by a toy. The idea first comes what can be sold, and then the story is built around that. So it's sort of like
but you know what?
Like an improv comedy sketch where you start out with this bizarre premise, and then you're tasked with creating the meaningful world around it, and then all the parts fit together in such an unlikely way.
Yeah, but you know what the answer my kid mind came up with? Like, I was not until I was a grown up and the Transformer movies was coming out, and then someone was like, oh, they're from Omicron Planetoid.
Cybertron.
They're from Planet Rock. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? That wasn't a thing. But apparently it's a thing. I just, as a kid, was like, oh, we just built a car that could turn into a robot.
I think what you're saying right now makes me think that I was actually wrong when I said that there isn't
Kids
really...
aren't dumb.
No, that there isn't really a logic to this stuff. Because I think that there is absolutely a logic. And like we were watching Fat Albert earlier... that has definitely a logic unto itself.
Mm-hmm.
But that was motivated completely differently. Like the idea.
Did he come from some fat planet?
The idea of Fat Albert was like the idea of Captain Planet, which was that it was the point was to satisfy federally mandated.
What about
scheduling requirements for educational programming?
But I think that isn't. No, I think that even though it's not like explicitly educational, there are like certain benchmark like moral choices and things that characters say in Transformers that speak to that same sort of structure. Like the good guys still win, the bad guys are very monolithic and easily dealt with ultimately.
But part of this was
like,
also to satisfy.
To change my oil. Sorry.
Part of this also was to satisfy the same FCC regulations, which is why, for example, G.I. Joe had the, more you know. What was it? Knowing is half the battle, right?
Yes.
Knowing is half the battle. And the idea of that was that you can sell the program as being educational if you spend the last 60 seconds of it telling kids not to eat poison. You can have whatever kind of destructive, materialistic, violent narrative that you want, teaching kids to love guns and to be incredibly nationalistic and to be intolerant of people who are, for example, not white. And then...
What do you think? G.I. Joe was like all about
all the bad guys were coded Asian.
Like in
Flash Gordon.
Yeah.
I disagree.
But that's the logic I'm talking about. Even though it's not good or moral logic, it does or moral to us logic.
But the Baroness is a sexy librarian. She's I don't know.
I feel like Fat Albert doesn't make sense.
The cloth on his head. We don't.
I don't really understand the point
is.
you're making though.
Well, because Andre's saying that all the bad guys are Asian in G.I. Joe, but there are
except for the women who were coded as simply being evil because they were women.
No, and smart. They were also evil because they were smart.
Alex?
No, I just don't think Fat Albert I don't see the logic. The moral at the end of that no smoking episode we saw wasn't like don't smoke. It was just like there's nothing you can do about it.
It was don't be judgmental and let people work. I mean, let them know. They were like, the only thing you can do is let them know how you feel about it.
But it was like your daddy smokes, like everybody smokes, and we're all fucked.
I thought that was like really emotionally intelligent though, as like a thing. Like it reminded me a little bit of the I don't know. No, it didn't really remind me of anything that I watched when I was a kid. It just reminded me of smart children's books.
Well, yeah, because the whole show is coming from the perspective of the adults in the cartoon, which is, well, we smoke, but we don't want you to smoke, right? Like it all is like, well, if you smoke, you won't be able to play baseball, and if you smoke, you might get a cough once in a while. I mean, like they were really reaching
condescending,
for reasons to tell kids not to smoke. Like they never once said cancer.
Well, that hadn't. I mean,
no,
cancer hadn't happened yet.
No, but it wasn't. That was before Truth and the huge Informer movie with Russell Crowe and all that.
Why is Bill Cosby always trying to be my dad?
Bill Cosby is a pain in my ass.
Is he? Does he have kids of his own?
Yeah, I believe so. I think so. I don't know that for a fact, but he seems like he would.
Well, I'm not his kid.
He seems like a dad.
I think. Well, he has that on Fat Albert. It seems that Bill Cosby is a dad, and that he's interested in edifying these rapscallions.
And it's so weird for him to stand in as a moral authority figure. You know, especially with all of this awful stuff happening now.
I know, and I was actually talking to Alex about this earlier, how I have this...
Maybe that makes him the perfect dad. Sorry, just I don't know.
He ultimately disappoints you even though you revered him as a child.
Right, he spends, decades? Because that show was on for 12 years. It was on Saturday morning TV from 73 to 85, I believe. And it was one of the longest running Saturday morning cartoons in history.
And nobody watched it.
Well, I watched it when I was a kid.
I think a lot of kids watched it, actually. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been on that long.
I know. I don't know. I mean, it was on.
It was on, and, like Captain Planet, if there was anything inside of you that wanted to believe in a moral universe, then there might have been some sort of an appeal from, watching...
Nobody watched Captain Planet.
I watched Captain Planet.
Yeah, but that was one of the shows you'd watch on the way to waiting for the show you actually want to watch. And the idea of changing channels was just not...
Well, this was always the negotiation, right, with the Saturday morning cartoons. It's always the back and forth between entertainment, which isn't really entertainment so much as it is keeping your attention while we sell you something, and then on the other side, fulfilling an educational mandate, which was never actually educational either, because it wasn't teaching you anything that was actually valuable. It wasn't teaching you critical thinking skills or, to question authority or anything. They were telling you things like,
recycle.
Don't get into a van with a stranger,
That still seems like useful information,
though. Don't use the stove if your parents aren't home.
They were kind of encouraging you to dye your hair green, though.
Yeah.
That's a little...
But that's a totally... I mean... That's
a little edgy.
My mom used to always say when I was growing up that she was like, I don't really care if you dye your hair or you do weird dress weird or whatever, because that's totally not a big deal at all, because it's ultimately impermanent. For parents to stress out about their kids dyeing their hair, doing all that stuff, means that they're probably, if their kids are rebelling that way and they're not getting away with it, that they'll try harder drugs anyway. And I think that's that sort of soft but firm approach that these cartoons are trying to model as parents. I don't know.
So much of it is that it's like the Saturday morning cartoon is TV's attempt to raise your children for you.
Yeah, totally.
Definitely.
TV always has this thing where it's sort of an electronic guardian, that is doing the job of being your friend and being your parent and making you not feel lonely and keeping you safe and stuff. But never so much as on Saturday morning. And then at the exact same time, also trying to get you to become this zombified or robotic spokesperson for their marketing firm. So you will go and bug your parents. There was a TV show on HBO in the late 80s and early 90s called, I think it was called Mom, Buy Me That or something like this, where they are teaching children about the ways in which television is attempting to indoctrinate you into commercialism. They show you the technology that they use when they're shooting commercials to make food look more delicious.
Is this before Linda Ellerbee?
This would have been around the same time, but she would have been on Nickelodeon.
Yeah, okay. I'm just curious if that was a similar...
There was a whole kind of weirdly socially progressive for 6-year-olds thing going on HBO and Nickelodeon and PBS too, where they see, the Saturday morning cartoons are attempting to teach children stuff, but the stuff that they're teaching them is such nonsense.
But I think we're forgetting that I don't know, with The Simpsons and in the 90s, you get all these shows that start subverting this traditional idea of cartoons, and you get Freakazoid, we talked about, the Animaniacs, where it's now cartoons are doing something different because they're starting to realize that the standards for a cartoon are different than for like a live action.
Yeah, there's like
show.
this sort of weird. I use this term cautiously, like this sort of like avant-garde almost impulse where they're like taking the mainstream thing and just flipping it on its head as like a way to both use the tools of the thing but while commenting on it at the same time.
And I think
there was a really strict reason for that, which was that in 1992 the FCC regulations changed and you were no longer allowed to sell. You're no longer allowed to advertise a product that was tied in directly to the program.
But I also think the like original intention still like existed in, or like the original idea, which was like this stuff doesn't make sense. Like the logic of a cartoon isn't based in reality. So then that allowed people freedom to make cartoons that aren't. I don't know.
But if you're trying to make a good cartoon, then you would attempt to do things like, for example, make the animation better, make it more dynamic. Like the Saturday morning cartoons that we were just watching today, they were advertised, they were animated on what's called 2s or 3s, where each individual animation frame is multiplied by 2 or 3 so that you only have, for example, 12 frames per second or 8 frames per second. And this makes it much cheaper to produce. You would, for example, maybe just animate the eyes and the mouth, or you would reuse animation. There were 1,000 ways in which they went in the opposite direction of what you're talking about, of the avant-garde. The avant-garde only became a feasible motive for animation on network television in the 90s when the business model changed. And it became about syndicating first-run animation.
Yes. That makes a lot of sense.
So, when you're selling the cartoon as being a thing that's going to draw in high-value advertisers, and the people who produce the cartoon are no longer the people who are creating the advertising for the cartoon, but instead the network is getting that revenue, then the network cares about the cartoon being as good as possible. And that's why you have Amblin Entertainment creating Looney Tunes, Tiny Toons, and Animaniacs, Amblin being the production company that belonged to Steven Spielberg. Because he's a guy who was deeply invested in children's entertainment throughout the 80s.
And apparently Hollywood of the 30s.
Well, yeah. Because
I always thought that was weird as a kid, that they were like, all the Tiny Toons and Animaniacs were like always ripping on Orson Welles and like talking about like Peter Lorre and stuff like that. And it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, like there's this thing I think that was great about Looney Tunes and Merry Melodies and stuff like that in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, where cartoons like that were shown in movie theaters where parents would take their kids, and it was very much like Pixar functions today, where adults are similarly interested in it as the kids. Like, yes, it's for kids, like that's the demographic, but it's like it won't, hey parents, like take your kid to see this, but it won't, and you'll like it too. It won't make, or at least it won't make you want to tear your hair out. Like
we'll throw in some grown-up jokes.
Yeah, but it's not just like, because the grown-up jokes function twofold. They function as grown-up jokes, but also like even if you don't know who Peter Lorre is, like Peter Lorre is a pretty weird guy. Like as a kid, you're gonna be like, oh, who's this weirdo? It's like when I was a kid watching Aladdin, and Robin Williams as the genie does like a Peter Lorre impression, and I thought it was hilarious, and I didn't realize it was a Peter Lorre impression until I was older.
Yeah, he's just doing a funny voice.
Yeah.
I think it's weird how I feel like Betty Boop sort of like is maybe like the reverse of that, where it's like this is a cartoon for adults, but like because it's animated, like your kid can sit there and watch it and be confused.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
Well, there wasn't nearly as much segregation between different kinds of entertainment back then, because this would have been before the MPAA and before television standards got graded, for example, where there was an explicit separation between children's programming and grown-up television. And so, Betty Boop had to necessarily appeal to both grown-ups and children. Later on, the MPAA comes about in the 60s, and now you're separating out the audiences. Now you have an audience where you can have children, and you have an audience where there is no children. And now it no longer makes sense for animation to appeal to grown-ups, because the grown-ups aren't the people who are making the decision about what movie to go see.
Well, that was also, no one had TV or anything like that at the beginning. when they would have Betty Boop on the reel before the film.
Sure.
So like they had to put that stuff in there too because that was the way you were getting anybody. Or you know what I mean? Like you would bring the whole family out to go see a movie or something. Because this was before all the
in-home entertainment.
In-home entertainment and also the variety of advertising.
Because there was the radio.
So then but the variety of stuff being produced, there just wasn't that much set up at that point. You know, it was still...
Right. As they developed the technology of marketing, what they figured out was that it's possible to advertise directly to exactly who it is you want to get to. You don't need to get to everybody and sell like Coca-Cola to every human being on the planet. You can sell just He-Man action figures just to little boys between the ages of 6 and 10.
And that's the loneliness I think that I was trying to get at, is that like when we have that now, that like commercial model, well, they're all commercial models, but like that's explicitly commercial model where your demographic is 9-year-old boys. That's a sign of like the suburban loneliness that came about and was dominant in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Whereas before, family entertainment was a public event. The family was still both a private institution and also a public performance. And I think what happens, and there's this sense of loneliness and ennui that we've been discussing, is that because there is now in-home entertainment of all kinds. And so the family is now private, is a like, exclusively private institution.
I just feel like if your market is 10-year-old boys, then like, how are you not going to pay attention to the fact that you have a giant butthole floating in space? You know, like they're going to notice that.
Well, part of it is that one of the consequences of the political changes in the 70s was that these animation...
There are more buttholes on.
these animation studios that were in the United States in the 60s and early 70s slowly started to move their business over to Japan and Korea. And so you start to see all these weird cultural artifacts of the influence of the artists that were in Japan and Korea.
Yeah.
And you see the faces start to change. You see the Transformers as objects.
Right.
That's not something that you saw in America in the 70s. It's got to be some sort of an influence from the fact that all of our children's culture in the 80s was being produced by Korean men.
I think that's so American to me. This idea of such an American emblem, like such an American cultural emblem is the Saturday morning cartoon. Yet it's, manufactured in Korea and Japan, but then has the theme song, which to me seems to me so musical theater-y, which is, American art form. And so I'm trying to figure out what to make of that. Like this, you start the thing off, the theme song gets in your head, and, structures your understanding of the show. It's like a sign for the show itself, the narrative itself.
And the songs are always the best part.
And they're so catchy. Denver the Last Dinosaur, that is a fucking banging song. Oh my God. And the songs in the Transformers movie, and then New Kids on the Block had their own show. Like music was becoming...
Not just New Kids. MC Hammer had his own show.
Hammer.
Michael Jackson had his own cartoon. The music, by the early 90s, they got to the point where they were like, we'll start with the music and sell you the music.
Yeah.
And then the cartoon is just something that you watch between songs.
Is there a way that these movies, like Transformers Today, felt a lot like musical theater to me? And it seems like this sort of, and this is happening at the same time as Les Mis.
Well, it's not musical theater.
I mean, it's okay.
It's musical cinema. The melodramas that were going on in Hong Kong and Korea and Japan in the 60s and 70s were all incredibly musical, but they weren't inspired by musical theater. They were inspired by the American musical cinema that was inspired by musical theater.
Okay.
But I think
Fair
you
enough.
say that because you have these like heavy metal acts that are very like theatrical in like their singing and like and their performance too. Like we had like what is Judas Priest on the.
It wasn't Judas Priest.
It was a sound alike. It was Stan Bush trying to sound like Judas Priest.
Kate Bush's annoying younger brother. But I think Yeah, okay, so it's not technically musical theater, but the idea is that music is guiding the narrative and helping construct the narrative and define characters and establish who they are, and that's in turn being sold to people.
Yeah,
and
which was happening a ton in TV at the time.
Okay, I'm agreeing with you. I'm just describing
but it's interesting. For example, this is around the same time that Miami Vice was a big hit, which was very different show from the kind of stuff that was on TV otherwise because of its use of pop music.
Yes.
And, MTV is starting around then as well. These cartoons are competing with MTV for 12-year-old viewers.
Yeah. Yeah, and then think about all the successful shows now, like CSI, is obviously successful because of Law and Order has a very recognizable theme song. Law and Order has dun 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 dun, which sounds very 80s to me.
Well, yeah, because it's from 1989.
I know, and then they kept it. They didn't fuck with it at all. Like it's there's something weirdly timeless about Law and Order to me.
I like how they have all the variations for all their franchises.
Wait, what are the variations? I can't even think of them right now.
Sing it for us.
Perform, dance, monkey, dance.
Same. I can hear it, but I can't make it.
Well, there's a special victims unit. All the rape victims are going to be saved.
They're not just victims. They're special.
They're sexy victims.
No, they do the theme song, but they're like, it's got a dun 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 part, and then a like do do do.
What, like a rockabilly part?
No, not
Christopher Maloney with a bouffant.
No, never mind. Just know that it's out there.
Special victims.
Did you guys ever have like extreme like moral dilemmas like while watching these cartoons? Like
yes, constantly.
Like,
yeah,
who's the good guy? Who's the bad guy?
Yeah, all that.
Oh, that mine
I was thinking that today.
Like we're talking about like all the surface stuff, like the character and the plot and this, but like the actual, and like we talked about like moral as like a tool, like at the end of the Cosby, G.I. Joe. But like, I don't know, these situations that these characters get in. Do you guys like ever? I know I freaked out like during Spider-Man or like during X-Men. Like,
especially when they're like
X-Men, especially X-Men was I think probably the one that that fits into this mold because they were always it was about whether it was a good idea to use violence to counteract tyranny.
Yeah.
Well, there also was
and I was like, why aren't they using more violence? Come on.
Yeah, it was like you guys are boring. No, I don't know.
Wolverine, that was the set. Wolverine never got to fucking use his claws.
But there also was like weird,
useful.
like sexual tension. I think during X-Men, or maybe that was just me becoming a little man. Yeah,
sure. No, yeah, Wolverine. He has to constantly struggle. Should he act on his feelings toward Jean Grey, or should he respect the relationship that she has with Scott Summers?
I feel like you can't avoid it. Like. In any of these cartoons, especially when the animators are like drawing these like bulbous breasts.
Bulbous breasts sounds like you should go to the doctor.
She-Ra and He-Man. And
there was a huge intimacy thing with Gambit and
Rogue
because
she can't kiss. Oh yeah. See,
and then Jubilee's like the girl that has the crush on Wolverine. He's like, you're too young for me.
The big moral dilemma for any of these kind of weird fantasy sci-fi shows is you go back in time. What do you do?
Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh, see. This is what I hate that shit. This is why I don't like sci-fi and I don't watch it.
But on these shows, and pretty much all the fantasy sci-fi shows, as I was saying about He-Man and She-Ra, and also we took a look at an episode of Flash Gordon earlier today. Women are depicted in such a way. It's not. I mean, it's more than misogynistic.
It seems to me like this sort of Prince level of misogyny in the sense that it's incredibly gay and also like. Really both misogynistic, but also like women are like really awesome and powerful. Like there's this weird like 80s thing about.
It's like the thing from Wonder Woman where she was depicted as being incredibly powerful, but also constantly getting tied up for some reason.
I wonder why that is. But going back to the thing that Alex brought up about moral dilemmas. I think that in part is why it's not the only reason I hate Scooby-Doo, but is a big reason I hate Scooby-Doo is that whenever they reveal that the monster was really just like a jaded millionaire, I always have found myself being like, oh, like he just feels insecure. Like that must suck. Like even though he's an asshole, like, and he shouldn't have done that. Like I just feel really bad for like.
For the person committing insurance fraud?
It's coming out of a place of vulnerability, you know? And I'm like trained to like, I feel like I've been inducted into this consciousness where I'm constantly just like scanning for who feels weak. And if someone's mean to me, it's because maybe because people were mean to me a lot when I was a kid, and my parents or people would always say, oh, it's because they're insecure enough. So I'm always just like, they're insecure, got to take care of their insecurities.
Well, yeah, but I don't know. I mean, they're criminals.
I know. No, I understand that is correct.
No, but this is good. This is like why cartoons should be complicated. Like there shouldn't be like a black and white good guy, bad guy, because like that sort of attitude is what makes people to act like assholes.
But
right?
if you teach the kids to be critical and to have a strong moral compass and to think about the consequences of their actions, then it's way harder to get them to buy action figures.
I feel like we're making an assumption that cartoons actually influence the way children behave. Do we think that this is true?
Well, they influence the way children feel.
Okay, but is it actually true? Are we really saying that because of G.I. Joe, kids felt bad about white kids in America didn't like Asian people? Do we think that this is a thing that this show is doing?
I think one of the
children?
things that the racist Asian stereotypes on G.I. Joe does is that it makes you it prevents you from seeing Asian people as being human beings.
Okay, yeah.
As being
that
like
is true.
you.
I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
I get that. That makes a lot of sense to me. I guess that was a bad example. What I mean is that
I think Eric's upset that you're like ruining his childhood right now.
No, I just don't know. Like, what are you talking about?
I'm saying that the racist Asian stereotypes on G.I. Joe and on Flash Gordon and on a number of other animated series and on other TV shows. I mean, a lot of live action adventure series in the 80s and even in the 90s would often use the Asian bad guy.
And still today, it happens all the time.
I don't. Who are the Asian bad guys on G.I. Joe?
The bad guys?
They're dressed like ninjas.
There's a ninja, and there is the G.I. Joe counterpoint. It's Storm Shadow and whatever the other guy's name is. What other characters? You have Destro, who, if anything, looks like a black guy made out of metal. And then you have Cobra Commander, who you can't see who he is because he's got either
You don't feel that Cobra Commander is Asian coded?
No, I think this is a lot about you. I do. I never, ever, and no one else in the entire time I was a kid, and you like, that never came up. He's anonymous. He's got a mirror face.
I mean, when I was a kid, I didn't even notice that Flash Gordon was racist, but like,
eventually
it's time
you
to grow up.
Yeah, and then you see the stuff right in front of you. The same way that you get older and you see the way in which villains are coded as gay in cartoons, and it's.
I don't know. Well, we didn't watch. I don't know if you did before I got here, but we did not see a G.I. Joe episode, and I don't.
That's true. Maybe we shouldn't talk so much about G.I. Joe.
I'm not
having been as fresh as we could be.
I'm not saying that if we were to watch it, there wouldn't be all kinds of problematic stereotyping, but I really don't know where your like thesis or your
There's a lot of stuff on the internet about how G.I. Joe is racist. I just Googled G.I. Joe racism, and there's just like a bunch of stuff. Like there's a YouTube video that's like G.I. Joe, American hero or American racist. And I'm not saying that like the internet is always true, but it seems that there are
if G.I.
people
Joe
other
isn't
than
racist,
Andre that
it's
agree.
the only cartoon in history that's not racist.
I'm not saying it's not. I'm just what I'm questioning is your like gospel truth that everyone in Cobra is Asian and bad.
I think it's weird though. Like we might like end up relating to the bad guys sometimes, because they have these weird quirks that aren't like the white football player guy like Flash Gordon. Like I don't know. Like I really like Starscream, mostly just because of his voice, but also like he's like ambitious.
No.
He wants to. He also hates Megatron.
No.
Starscream here in the studio. Oh, what a delight.
Oh, so glad he could join
You're
us.
all standing in my way to achieve my greatness. Oh man, we didn't. Yeah.
The villains.
He left. Okay.
The villains are very.
Oh, he just flew out here. Yeah.
They're Nietzschean, aren't they, the villains? The
Oh my
thing
God.
every villain in those cartoons has in common is that they want power. Like, it's not that they never have reasonable or identifiable plans for
No, they just want power. Yeah.
Right. It's not like Skeletor wants, sovereignty for the skeleton people. He's not like some kind of a Northern Irish freedom fighter.
Well, that's the logic that's in the show is that, and that's what makes it appeal to my moral sensibility as a child. Is I was like, okay, they're really bad. They need to go. I don't feel there's no wishy-washiness. I'm not, except that's even when you're trying to do that, there's always these gaps. There's always these moments, like on Scooby-Doo, where I'm just like, oh God, the poor jaded millionaire.
Well, it's because they aren't actually monsters.
Yeah.
They're just wearing costumes.
There aren't.
Well, there is a giant talking dog. So there's at least one monster.
But that's part
he
of the
doesn't
mythos.
actually talk. He's not like the talking cat. Because he's like...
So he's like a Malamute.
But Scrappy, he can talk.
Puppy power. Oh no! But I remember my friend used to say.
I hate that shit.
I think Scrappy was sometimes like reading the racing form and chomping on a cigar.
Oh,
he didn't just talk. He had anxieties.
Well, he's like, yeah, it's like when they bring in
debt.
When they bring in the out of character late edition to save the show.
The Cousin Oliver.
Cousin Oliver, yeah.
Yeah,
the trope.
The baby growing up really fast on growing pains.
Or like
talk about some growing pains.
The John Stamos and Lori Loughlin's twins when Michelle got too old on Full House.
Or in the Transformers movie where we see all of your favorite Transformers die and then get replaced with brand new ones that you have to go out and purchase.
Only one of them died that we saw.
Well, we saw that the Transformers who were the Decepticons all got shot and sent out into the space and then got changed into brand new ones.
Did people buy Decepticons at the same rate that they bought the Autobots?
They probably bought them more.
To fight each other,
Well, the Decepticons were cooler.
I never really got
true.
to participate in Transformers because that was decided it was too expensive of a toy.
They were very expensive because they were complicated. They were worth it. They were great.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry. I didn't have any Transformers, so I just, I don't have the same relationship as G.I. Joe. It's cheaper to buy a G.I. Joe figure.
Everybody experiences...
Especially the Asian ones, Andre.
...poverty and privilege in different ways.
They had good guys, too. Quick Kick was Asian.
See, this is another issue of, it was so much more of a deal, the materialism and income disparity. Like, when you're trying to socialize with other kids, before video games were a huge deal... It was toys. Yeah, what do you have the toy?
But it would also be like they had some of the toys and you had some of the toys. So you could
make them fight.
Yeah.
Right, that's the dream. But then as much as that happened, also there would be the opposite, which was I'm jealous.
Yeah, I also I remember one of my friends fucked one of my Transformers up. That was that was the end of that.
Right, because you're teaching children not just to value their possessions,
right,
but also to have an anxiety about their possessions.
Or covet the possessions of others.
I think that there's more to this than that. I mean, this is what the way that capitalism is insidious is not because it makes you worry about your objects. It's because it makes you codify your experiences and emotional attachments in terms of objects.
Yeah.
So you're upset, Alex. This is, get on the couch. I'm going to sit in this chair. You were upset about that because you loved playing with your Transformer. You didn't care about the thing in and of itself. It's not like a fucking teacup that you prize. It's like
I disagree.
You think
I loved it as more than just an object?
Yeah, like the Velveteen Rabbit. That's what the Velveteen Rabbit teaches us. It's not just
you don't like the thing so much as you like how the thing makes you feel.
Exactly. It's why yeah.
I think
that people have different relationships with their objects, though.
I'm not sure I have that much emotional complexity.
There were tons of little boys out there getting their G.I. Joes and strapping M80s to their backs and blowing them to little pieces.
Yeah, but I mean...
Okay, that's...
My toys, I was very, I kept
screwed up
everything...
little kids that ended up going and being investment bankers.
Well, that's what we see in the film Toy Story, is the moral universe of children is that there's Sid, who... Tortures toys, and... the joy he gets, the only use for objects for him is that they can be destroyed, and that makes him feel powerful.
And Toy Story is exactly the fantasy
Yes.
of the Saturday morning cartoon and its relationship with toys. Because Toy Story says, these toys that you have that you care so much about, these little plastic objects being built by Chinese slaves, you're the same age as you, were valuable to you because they are alive.
So I haven't seen Toy Story 3. Did they really go to rescue the kid from the factory?
Toy Story 3 is extraordinary. It's everything I thought. I always thought that, not when I was a kid, I figured this out later, that like the relationship between Andy and the toys is like the relationship between God and his children, but also vice versa. Like the toys are both God and the children, and Andy is both God and the children.
But
like
it's a super early Old Testament version of that story where
exactly.
where you would expect God to just be like hanging out, where like you go to the grocery store, oh, there's God over there buying bananas, you know. Yeah. He was just like there all the time, just hanging around like he had nothing better to do.
That movie taught me to fear death in a totally new way.
Yeah, me too. Like there's so many. The thing that's cool about these cartoons, about movies, there's so many different ways to fear death. There's not just one fear. There's so many ways of experiencing this fear. Oh, you should be afraid of death because your parents will be upset. Oh, you should be afraid of death because it means that the world is not finite. Or you should, there's so many different reasons.
But it also has an unrealistic. We were talking about that today at the Garfield where the guy got crushed by everything.
Wait, what?
Oh yeah.
There's no death in cartoons though, too.
Oh yeah, well that's also equally horrifying.
Because there's no consequences in cartoons because they don't physically exist.
Because they're ephemeral.
Everything about the image is manufactured. There's no indexical relationship with reality.
But toys can last forever. So you get the experience from the TV show, that sense of ephemera, but you're like, oh shit, but it's fleeting, and now the show's over, and I can never watch that show again for the first time.
The toy becomes a totem for
a talisman,
the ritual that was performed on television.
Totally. It's like why I hold on to playbills after seeing a show.
Right, or people with a rosary after they go to mass.
All of that.
It holds power because of an experience that you went through.
And it's a fantasy ultimately. I mean, things never really.
Right. So then when your neighbor like fucks up your transformer, then you like are confronted with death.
Exactly. And if your parents get you a new one, it's not the same.
And also disrespect for your idol. You get a pleasure from imbuing this object with power. And when somebody disrespects it, then you are in the position of, Moses or, any number of prophets of Christ and God and all that who have to go out and defend their deity. Maybe I'm going a little bit too far with that one.
Oh, man. I think... the
you
thing I love
strike
about
out against that which has struck out against you and your God.
The thing I love about music, though, and the songs is that even though, they're slightly less ephemeral, like they're still ephemeral, like even when you're done listening to the song and even though it's stuck in your head, you're like, sometimes I still like really want to listen to the song, even though I like know it. Like I know all of the words to like pretty much all of Bjork's songs, but I still like to like listen to the albums because it's like it like fills that need, like, oh, I need to listen to this. And I think that's a thing about theme songs too, and then they function in tandem with the cartoon, but in a slightly different way due to its like less ephemeral.
How
nature.
Are cartoons ephemeral?
Cartoons, especially Saturday morning cartoons, because this is something that I'm glad we're talking about because this is really interesting to me. Who knows why? That Saturday morning especially became this weird time where for a lot of kids, like for example, kids who had school every day except for Saturday and Sunday, and then on Sunday they had church, right? Like Saturday was their day to do whatever they wanted with their morning. And what they chose to do was watch cartoons. And so you wake up super early on a day you don't have to. And then you get up and you're full of sugary cereal, which has the characters from the cartoon that you are about to watch, right? And it's sort of disorienting. You sort of put yourself in a state. You wake up so early and you're like woozy even, right? And if you wake up early enough, you get to see the weird cartoons from overseas.
Yeah.
Like they used to show Ultraman.
Oh, yeah.
Or the Japanese Mega Man cartoon.
Oh, yeah.
Gosh, yeah. And so, you sort of get this feeling like Saturday morning, if you get up early, you're rewarded with access to this crazy, weird world. And if you get up early enough, you see the really weird stuff.
There's this wonderful memory I have that's is a part of this feeling you're describing, where when I was little, I got up, it was Christmas Day, and it was like I got up at like 6 a.m. because I was so excited, and I go in to my dad's like study, and I turn on the TV, and I'm watching TV, and I'm watching it for hours because, people aren't getting up yet. And I'm so like in this trance watching the TV that my brother comes out in his blue bathrobe, and he says, "Eleanor, it's Christmas." And I like had forgotten because I was watching TV, and I was so like, "Oh my God, it's Christmas." Like it was that surprise, that feeling, and the surprise only happened because I was in this trance ritual of morning television. Like, I don't know if it was a Saturday, but it was a holiday. So it's, the same sort of thing. And then I was running to my parents' bedroom, and I'll never forget that. And the reason I will never forget it was because it was that feeling of surprise, of forgetting and then remembering. And that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't been in that trance-like state.
Yeah. You wake up and it's like you're awake, but you're still sort of dreaming,
Yeah. I mean, I was very much awake, like energized and ready to go open my presents, and then I was lulled back to sleep dreamland by the TV show. I don't even remember what I watched.
It's very much like dreaming because the logic of these cartoons is so scattershot, It's just like, oh, I guess we're, wandering through some sort of a crystal castle now. And
right.
What sort of a logic are you supposed to get from it? You're supposed to get like no logic.
Well, and like the backgrounds are all like watercolor painted and stuff, so it's kind of dream-like, just in the image.
Yeah, and that's coming from like Warner Brothers. Like the I loved it in there's a Warner Brothers cartoon of Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner where they keep running into mirages. They keep like someone keeps thinking, I think Coyote keeps thinking he sees an oasis, but it's a mirage. And it's like sort of discombobulating. Yeah. It's actually very proto SpongeBob, what SpongeBob used to do, like where it's just like, what the fuck? I have nothing. I don't know what to expect. It's magic.
Yeah.
And Nickelodeon was a big part of the reason that Saturday morning cartoons started to go away. Mm-hmm. Was home video,
whole station for children,
and and cable.
Yeah.
And now Netflix and Hulu
have totally superseded Saturday morning cartoons.
There's no reason for a child to get up that early because what are they going to see? And also because now, as of this past summer, Saturday morning cartoons are no longer on television. The CW, they were the last ones. They stopped doing it. It doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, like there was these times, like we were talking about this weird sense of time. There's this Mircea Eliade idea of sacred time, which is both like a liminal period in the sense that it's like you're not quite sure where you are, but it's also incredibly specific in that it when it's happening, like when you're in the ritual, when you're performing the thing, when you're trying to contact God or you're in contact with God or whatever it is that you believe. And I think and there's also a concept of queer time, which I still don't quite fully understand, but I think connects to sacred time. And I wonder if there's like cartoon time is a name for this like dreaminess that's not quite sacred time because it's not necessarily about like reaching out to like another thing, but it's like more like turning inward into yourself and locating yourself, and like it's like a character building, I guess, like structuring your identity and attitude and orientation toward the world.
I always felt like I forgot myself when I watched cartoons. Like I forgot.
So it's not locating your identity, it's like something else then.
Yeah.
Dislocating your identity.
Yeah, it's that dream thing. Yeah. There's something here,
Experiencing something without the self.
Yeah. And I think only kids can do it. I think there's like a
people on drugs can do it.
Or on drugs, but
well, isn't that what happens when you watch Netflix for like 8 hours straight?
You binge watch.
I don't know if that's cartoon time though, because I feel I don't have that experience. Never mind. I shouldn't talk because I don't have that experience. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Yeah, I guess, and we're supposed to be I don't know. I like to believe that I'm a critical viewer at this stage in my life, but maybe I'm just, I don't know.
Well, you're never as critical as you want to be.
Right.
And also, sometimes it behooves you not to be critical. They're, emotionally at least. Anyway, I think it's really sad that Saturday morning cartoons have come to an end. But I guess it was sort of inevitable. And I want to end this episode with a moment of silence. So, starting now.